This thing on? Hold up, before I say what is happening, I gotta make sure it's having a fantastic Thursday. Cheers. Having a little tea, a little time. Sherrod's in, I like it. All right, let me get this thing all sorted out here. I got all kinds of technical difficulties going on. What's the deal? What's the problem? Here we go. Anyway, close enough. Anyway, hope everybody's having a fantastic Thursday. I know I sure am. Hope everything is going well in your world as well. Double thumbs up for Slime Cuda. I like it. So, figured I'd give you guys, an update on the Hellcat. Popped for a set of brake pads for this thing. That's right, we're going to be doing the brake dust mod on this thing. Because let me tell you something, that right here, yeah, first world problems, I get it. But they are a pain in the ass to clean. And I got to tell you guys something. I am not the biggest fan of cleaning those wheels. Mainly because it sucks to have to clean them every time you drive the car. So anyway, got a set of the Power Stop Extreme Z26 brake pads. So I figured I would kind of walk you through what comes in a box when you get one of these things. It's actually a pretty sweet bit of kit here. Oh, comes with these. You're going to need that for your install. A lot of guys just reuse the stock stuff though. Got your pins and your clips. There you go. All new hardware. Looks pretty good. You got these big old monsters right here. I don't know if you guys have ever paid attention to the size of the brake pads on these cars. You've seen the rotor the brake pad is. That's my head. All right, the brake pads are the size of my freaking head. Anyway, these are the Z26s. That's the route that I decided to go. If y'all are wondering, this is what the box looks like. All right. So at any rate, we're going to do the brake dust mod on this thing because I have just about had it in terms of not only cleaning the wheels, but it just makes a mess of the entire car. Especially if you go on any long trips. You guys with SRTs and Hellcats know exactly what I'm talking about. And I may also do a video on a how-to anyway on doing your brake pads. It's actually real easy on a Hellcat or an SRT. Easier than familiar. Basically what it is, you saw the pins in the kit, 13 millimeter socket and ratchet. Pull the center bolt out, pop the pins out, and the pad should slide right out the top of the calipers. From there, just compress the pistons, slide your new pads in, throw it all back together. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Nothing to it on a Hellcat or an SRT. Let me make sure I'm not forgetting anybody in here. Let's see. Team Mopar is in. What up, B? What up, team? Team Mopar is saying he's got the shake installed on the Jeep and currently putting a new cam in it. I like it. Shawnee's coming saying, good evening. I found your 11.9 time slip online. Your first 11.9 with the 392. Yes. Damn, that was a while back. 2 years ago at Mopar Fest in some pretty not awesome conditions. That's the first time she went 11s. I was so happy for the car to go 11s. Richard saying scat packs are pretty bad as far as brake dust go. Yep, for sure. Matt Parker's saying, hey, Seuss, looks like my 3500 work van pads. No kidding, right? Dr. Div's checking in saying, what up, my man? What up, Doc? True Day saying, I put those on my 15 SRT stock pads, would literally cover the wheels after a 20-minute drive after washing the car. Must mod. Absolutely agree with that. As a matter of fact, this thing is a nightmare just to clean and get them nice and at least presentable. I mean, look, it's a nice car. I'm spending a ton of money on this thing. I want it to look good, have some pride in this thing, right? But again, anybody that's got one of these cars, scat pack guys, you guys are not immune from this either. You drive the thing around for 20 minutes and it's already dirty. I mean, it's a bad look, man. You can't have that. MD Must saying, what up, B? What up, MD? Jean-Paul is saying, hi, Brian. 2009 RT 6B57 Hemi with Maggie. At 6 pounds of boost. JB Eders, I like this combination already. Drag pack wheels like yours. 9 passes so far. Bested 1201 at 119 with a 1960 foot. My man, you have got a solid 11-second car. Got to do something down in like the at least the mid to high 17s with that thing. You got at least an 1180, 1170 car going for you right there. It's a quick car. Now the Dayton's in the house saying, "What's up, Brian?" Added a Braille 11-pound battery this week and has done. Looks like you say it's done good all week, but it's mainly for track days. Yeah. So for you guys who don't know, I put an Archangel battery in this thing, and it weighs as near to nothing as you can get as far as a big, street style battery. I think it weighed 18 pounds compared to 45 pounds for the stock battery. But yeah, Braille makes one. They're tiny. In fact, we used to use them on the street bikes when we took them to the road course. That's actually where I learned about those when I started doing a lot of track days with my bikes. So yep, and those batteries, I mean, you can play catch with them. They're practically non-existent, but that's a badass battery. Jean-Paul's asking, how do I improve my 60-foot? Can I get to Carnegie Hall? Lots of, I have hundreds and hundreds of practice launches on the street. But one is traction. That's first key. Second, again, is his traction, man. Sherrod's saying he's got he's forced his 392, supercharged it, 10% lower, about 10 to 12 pounds of boost with a TDS, and get ready to mod the brakes as well. Yeah, jump on it. Trust me. And again, any of you guys that have any of these cars know exactly what I'm talking about, and these slingshot wheels are a nightmare to keep clean. I have actually contemplated getting a set of Demon reps for this thing, as opposed to running these wheels around all the time just for the cleaning of it. And it's not one of these types of things where you can just throw a little bit of simple green on them, let it sit for a little bit, and then send it with a garden hose. It doesn't work like that. You can get the stuff off the wheel, but damn, it's a freaking nightmare keeping these things clean. So, the other thing is, they have a tendency to be rough on rotors. So, I figure the Z26s will do two things for me. One, will save the aggravation as far as cleaning, and two, well, if nothing else, maybe they'll be a little bit easier on the rotors as well. I don't autocross this car. I don't do any kind of closed circuit racing with it, so I'm pretty sure I'm going to be okay with these 26s. Sean is asking, what did it take to run an 11.9 with my 392? Actually, it took a tune and a tire to run that first 11.9. However, that 11.9 was run in some not awesome conditions. But for sure, I was running a set of, what were they? Nitto Tri 5Rs, I think. No, Mickey Thompson ET Street SS's on the back. Stock size, 5 to 6 second burnout. Shallow staged it and just stood on the throttle. Has a Pikes Performance tune on it, which was actually fairly conservative, all things considered. That said, I've run 11.9s in a boat, so game was really low. But hey, the car went 11 stock, so you can't ever take that away from it. Let's see. Matt Parker's asking, what about that wheel protector spray? I don't really believe in it. I haven't seen any of it actually work in the real world, and I'd rather just throw a set of Z26s on it and call it good. Nally Date's saying, Sean, good air and a drag pack. Actually, that's what it took to get the car to run. Well, actually, I didn't have a drag pack on it when it went 1139. But with my car's clone, that car went an 1125 with nothing done to the engine. No throttle body, no porting, no cleanup of the intake manifold of any kind. Just a tune, cat delete, no seats, and a drag pack and me. And it went 1120s. In fact, it went 1120s 3 or 4 times that day. Jose Padilla is saying, hi Mason, hope all is well. I have a question if you can answer. I would like to do a 15-inch brake conversion. Should I do my front conversion or just the back? I do drive it on the streets. Thanks. Man, just do the rears. Don't worry about the fronts. Get you a set of runners for the fronts. Any one will do. Don't worry about the fronts in that case. If you want to do rears, absolutely cool. I say go for it. You will need end link, shorter end links, and of course the setup. You're going to need the rotors and the calipers to go along with it. All that kit, but you'll definitely have a lighter weight setup, and you will be able to run 15s, which is a good thing because tire size is at your whim as far as what tire size you want to run at that point. Trudeau's saying, yeah, those wheels are a pain. Oh yeah, with that many look at that, man. Come on, seriously. And then here's what sucks is that shit gets behind like this nook and cranny part right here. I haven't even driven the car. I washed it and it still got crap on it. Look at that. Seriously? I mean, it just dusts up sitting there, not even doing nothing. So, which is funny too. So I washed the car. The car basically just hangs out in the garage. Trees have been going ape shit with pollen, and you just open the garage and it's got pollen all over it. So yeah, it looks like I haven't washed it, and I actually spent a lot of time cleaning this thing up. Apparently not enough time. Trudy is asking, speaking of the Z26s, do you think they're easier on the rotors than the stock pads? I think they will be. Remember seeing some guys past couple of years on forums replace their rotors on low mileage cars with stock pads. Yeah, so the stock pads are very aggressive, and they do a fantastic job of hauling these cars down from a high mile per hour conditions, high speeds, but they are aggressive, and that's one of the reasons why they dust so much. But they are a little bit hard on rotors. Z26s are going to be a little bit easier on the rotors. Now, that being said, PowerStop makes a set of rotors. A company called Demon actually makes a set of rotors that are kick-ass rotors. So if anything does ever go south with these, I'll go with those rotors, the full size. But the good thing about them is they're a little bit lighter than stock. Not a lot lighter, but just something to consider. But we've actually used them at the shop as replacements for the stock rotors, and it's good stuff. They work well. Let's see. Junior's asking, how's it B Mason? How's it Junior? Says, will the Hellcat Red-Eye Supercharger do any justice for the Demon? Let me reread that, make sure I understand the question. Will the Hellcat Red-Eye Supercharger do any justice for the Demon? Well, it's the same supercharger. It's the 2.7 for the Red-Eye and the Demon. So if you're asking if the Elephant Supercharger would do any good for the Hellcat or the Demon or the Red-Eye, the answer is a resounding yes. But, between those two cars, it's the exact same unit. No different. Dwayne Weaver saying those Mopar splash guards, if y'all can see them. The light's really not good enough. Let's see. Does that help? Anyway, I won't own one of these without the splash guards anymore. It makes a huge difference. These tires will kick up rocks and debris and other stuff, and even on the kick, pretty decent rock chip on the right rear of this thing. And if I'd had the splash guard, that might not have happened. So yeah. Plus, I think it looks better with the splash guards anyway. Dr. Dibb is asking, missed the part about the new brake pads. Do you care to say it again? I would love to say it again. So we're going with a set of Z26s. Comes with the new pins, the clips. Brake pads are about the size of my head. And for you guys that need it, there is the part number that you need to get for your Hellcat or SRT Charger or Challenger. But that's it right there. Z26s, not a sponsored segment. I don't have any sponsors over here. Nobody giving me free shit to try out or test. But again, it's the brake dust mod, and keeping these rims clean is too much of a pain in my ass to keep dealing with that for any longer. Yeah, saying I used a long wheel brush when washing my Scat Pack with Hellcat Cyclone wheels, and that works pretty well and keeps things looking good. Also, coat of Lemon Pledge furniture polish helps shed the dust. Yes, it does. Oh, we got a bug flying around here. I hope y'all can see this thing. What the fuck is that? Thing's gonna come around and bite me and swell me up like a freaking tick. Summertime here in Houston, right here on the water, so we got those freaking pterodactyls flying around here. But yeah, Lemon Pledge does help. Shawnee's saying 11.2, the stock cam is very, very good. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. As a matter of fact, on that day, an 11.2 was not the quickest that a stock cam car would have gone. If my car would have been on a drag pack with no seats or anything else, it actually would have probably gone 11.10. Yeah, that car was pretty sick, but yeah, it was a stock cam for sure. Dr. Div saying, love my Hellcat wheels, but a pain. Hey, Posner, thank you very much for the contribution, man. I appreciate that. Posner's asking, hey, what would you do to a Hellcat to maximize a Hellcat that would only be used on the street and would see the track? Only be used on the street. I'm guessing you say would not be used at the track. Couple of things. First, if you're never going to do anything to the car, you're going to leave it at stock power and you're not going to be taking it to the drag strip, but you want something that's fun and that's going to remain entertaining for a long time. Okay, first thing I would look into, it's a hard question to answer if I'm being totally honest, because my car is stock except for the drive shaft and the drag pack. And I do take my car to the drag strip a lot. And I really enjoy driving the car on the street just the way that it sits, bone stock. But if you want it to be more entertaining, just my opinion, as much as I talk down about cold air intakes for these cars, because they do not make any more power, get you an open element cold air intake for the thing. If for no other reason than the racket that it makes with the Supercharger, it is absolutely worth it. Just for the theater of the thing. I love being able to hear that super, because in my thing, both at the track and on the dyno, that's the setup that works best. But man, I gotta tell you, I still love the open element filter. So get you something inexpensive, don't spend a lot of money on it. B Woody makes a great kit. Throw that on the car just for, the sheer sound of that Supercharger. If you want more, the fuck was that? If you want more performance out of the car, or you want it to feel more lively, look into a 309 rear gear. Now, look, I get it. The car already likes to light the tires up at will, but I am leaning heavily towards the 309 gear for this car, considering the power level that it's at. Last but not least, depending on where your car falls in line here with your warranty, look into getting a tune and a transmission tune. That would be about the extent of what I would do to the car, just to have it be a little bit more fun on the street. You're not taking it to the drag strip, you're just playing around with the thing. Look into that. And in the process, you might throw a set of BMR lower trailing arms on the thing. Just as good. I would absolutely say to go with a set of Nitto Tri-5Rs for the rear. Again, fantastic tire on the street, and it allows you to be able to use the power that the car is making to where it's just not going up in smoke. But that's what I would do to the car. And thank you again for that contribution. I appreciate it. Now he's saying that he goes, I ran 11.2s, or he ran 11.2s with a tune, tire, throttle body catless, and 1300 DA. Man, I got to find some negative DA this fall. Yeah, you do. Your car is screaming, brother. We got to get that thing into the teens or the O's this fall. Richard's saying, what brand of brakes apart from Brembo's would be great for my 19 Scat Pack shaker? What brand of brakes apart from Brembo's would be great for your Scat Pack shaker? Well, you already kind of have a set of Brembo's on there now. I mean, if you're talking about brake pads, I mean, I went with the Power Stop. They're known to be pretty good, so I'd say go with those. Anything that cuts down on dust. I've heard some negative reviews about Hawk brake pads, but haven't heard anything negative about the Power Stops. Dr. Div saying, I'll send some stickers your way. Sponsorship in full force. Hey, if it'll stick on the toolbox, I'll take it. Team Mopar saying, I heard it, I like it. Vortex saying Z26s are great. First mod I did on my Daytona 2 weeks after he got it. Man, I don't blame you. I'll tell you something. If I had been, wrapped up and doing other things with this car, they would have already been on the car. It's stupid that I haven't already done it. DZ saying, hey, I'll run some 305 drag radials on the rear of my Scat Pack. Would you go with 17x9 Race Stars or 18x10 Bravados? All right, well, you're asking two different questions. I don't know if you realize that with the two different size wheels, because now we're talking about two different size tires. Your 17x9 Race Star, which is what I run, you're gonna have a 305 45 17. That's a 28-inch tall tire. You're going 18x10 Bravados, which I really do like, especially if you're going to be going back and forth to the street. You don't want the pain in the ass of, dealing with Race Stars. That's going to be a 29-inch tall tire. So it depends on really what you're going to be using the car for. If you want the best ET out of a more or less stock car, go with the Race Stars. They're a little bit lighter, and the tire is a little bit lighter, and you get a little bit more sidewall out of it. The 18, a little bit heavier, but not enough to really split hairs over. But it is a 29-inch tall tire, so you're going to be losing a little bit of that gearing advantage off the line. It's up to you. 6 to 1, half a dozen to another. But as far as I was concerned, I went with the drag pack because we're shooting for a record with this car. Still, maybe next year. We're in third, at least so far as I know anyway. For anybody that's even keeping track of this kind of crap. And that would be an 11, I'm sorry, 11. Damn, I'm talking about 392 stuff too much. 1047 and best trap speed's just over 130. Team Mopar saying that must have been a big bug for the mic to catch it. No shit, you hear that thing? What it is, you get these big ass flies. And they just go, they come flying through here. They sound like a helicopter flying through here. My lips look like when I'm on camera. I'm not going to do it again. Let's see. Frank Ramos is saying that he desperately wants Hillary for president soon. Yeah, that ship has sailed. Sherrod saying, are you only changing the front pads? Yes, only changing the front pads. Joel saying, what's up, brother? Glad to catch a live show. Going to be a late night on the road. Man, glad we can hang out, man. Hopefully we can eat up some of those miles together. Heavy Ed, thank you very much. Got that quarter-mile contribution to 1320. I do appreciate that very much. Saying, enjoy your chats on replay and occasionally live when you do them during normal Mopars. Rock the Mopar. I love it. I know. I've been trying to do some of the shows a little bit earlier. I haven't been able to lately. Again, just with the work schedule and, doing stuff around the house, I just really have not had an opportunity until later in the evening. So wanted to try to get this one going a little bit early. So thank you all very much. I appreciate that very much for the contribution to the cause. Love the 1320. That's awesome. The Wolf is saying, he put the green filter in his. Makes more noise and is cheap. I actually like green filter for track use. I don't really like them for the street. They don't do a fantastic job of filtering, but if it's a weekend car, you're only really taking it to the drag strip. Green filter is great. They flow their ass off, and they will make a little bit more noise. But don't go K&N, whatever you do. For these cars on the stock airbox, don't do it. Works great for other applications. It's just not the right filter for these cars. Dr. Div saying, yeah, we listen to them at the shop also. My techs live it. I like it. They actually do live it. Dr. Div's got a shop just east of here in Port Arthur, and does some fantastic work. You need to hit him up if y'all need any stuff done. If y'all are in the Houston area, hit him up for your Mopar hot rodding needs. Does really good work on trucks. I know that for a fact. On the street saying 90mm throttle body or 85mm throttle body. If you are talking about a naturally aspirated Mopar, the answer to that is neither, because the intake manifold will not accommodate 90mm or 85 in terms of flow. Between the two, 85mm is your better bet. Of all the throttle bodies, a true ported fast man throttle body, 84mm is the way to go. And if you guys have a Hellcat, they also make one for the Hellcats as well. Can't remember the exact size of them, but at any rate, they do work very well. We've tested them, good supporting mod. But yeah, for the stock stuff, even modded or whatever, again, the intake manifold will not support the flow of those throttle bodies. Ask me how I know. I mean, that's what I do. I port those manifolds, and I can tell you it is a nightmare trying to get those things to flow worth of crap to begin with. I've spent a lot of time to do it right. CJ's asking, also, what do you think of the Crown Vic Swap F100s? I freaking love them and would love to do one for myself one day. Matt Parker's saying that blower sound is mechanical music on those Hellcats. Yes, it is. Multiple Mopars. My man, what you done? Multiple Mopars is in. If y'all don't subscribe to Multiple Mopars channel, y'all are missing out. The man has got an armada of Mopars. And he's got some pretty sick other cars as well. He's doing a sweet build on a Hellcat and on a Red Eye. So go check his channel out. Hemihead saying, install the Mopar splash guard on both Challengers and they work great, even with the 305s on the rear. Yes, they do. That's what's on the back of this one. Keeps 90% of the junk off the quarter panels. Yes, absolutely they do. Edward, unpronounceable, is saying, how long are you going to be going on for? Usually I go on for about an hour and a half to 2 hours. CJ Coleman's asking, what do you think of Bigfoot the monster truck? It was really cool when I was a kid. When things got all computerized and all that other kind of stuff, they all turned into basically the same truck. But Bigfoot was the first for me. Trudeau's saying, I put the Volant cold air intake with a Donaldson PowerCore filter on my 15 SRT. Sounds good, but mainly put it on because of the filter technology. Box setup, but still sounds good. Filter lasts 100,000 miles. Good setup. Go 74 checking in. Hey, B, how you doing? I'm doing well, man. How you doing? Give me a head. SP has about 8,000. It's talking about a Scat Pack. Has about 8,000 miles on it and a bunch of passes. Been thinking of changing the diff oil. The Mopar oil is stupid expensive. AMSOIL seems like it's got a good rep. What do you recommend? I like AMSOIL. It comes with the friction modifier, and the guys that I've talked to that have run AMSOIL have not had any issues with it. So I say go for it. AMSOIL makes some good products. Some of it is a little snake oil-ish, but for the most part, their products really are really good, and they do well in all independent lab testing. So can't go wrong with that. If nothing else, think of it like this. The extra money you're going to spend on AMSOIL, if it is more expensive, it's just peace of mind, as far as I'm concerned. And to be honest with you, sometimes it's well worth it to invest in that peace of mind. Ghost74 is asking, how often do you recommend changing brake pads? Well, it's going to depend on how you drive your car. If you've got a Hellcat or a Scat Pack, I would say you're probably going to be changing them out about every 15,000 miles-ish, 20,000 miles, depending on how you drive the car. Now, you go with a set of, dustless pads, I'd say, I don't know, the second you take possession of the car, you've already got the pads waiting on it. So in that case, right off the bat, and again, I'd say, give them a good look at every, 8,000 miles, 10. Sophonics asking, best race you saw at the strip over the past few weeks? Actually, I was involved in that race. A buddy of mine, Robert, has a tuned Hellcat, and so it's pretty funny. This actually spans over the course of a few weeks. We had gone to Houston Raceway Park and did some 8th mile racing, and it was fun because my car is real strong through the 8th mile, but his is tuned, and so he's going to start reeling me in on the top end of the track. It typically starts at about the 8th mile where his advantage, really starts to come into bloom. And we had several races where he was just coming mattered because we were almost always through the traps at the exact same time, with him just kind of reeling me in up to that point. Sam is asking, have you ever heard of a hard 3/4 shift on a stock 3.6 with no mods and an 8-speed? No, haven't heard of that. With the 8-speed, sometimes you get the first gear bump. The guy checking in at him, giving him a big fist. I like it. Sam's asking, what are your thoughts on twin charging a 5.7? Define twin charging, you talk about twin turbs, or are you talking about a combo or a stack system where you're running turbos or centrifugal with a roots? twin turbos, good, but packaging is a nightmare. If you run a combo system with with the roots and a turbo roots and a centrifugal supercharger, you can make good power with it, but that system is actually better for a steady state unit, something that's just going to sit there and make, like for a generator or for a diesel, like for a diesel application, they're a lot better. I prefer to go with one supercharger or one source of forced induction, because you can work within the efficiency range of that unit and actually make, in some cases, more power if you're using a turbo than you can with the combo package, so to speak. Hondo saying, hey Mason, hey Hondo. Sam Grable saying, big turbo, small pulley. I guess you're talking about for a Hellcat then in that case. Not a big fan of it. Again, the complexity kind of starts to creep in a little bit at that point, and you're not going to be able to benefit truly from the efficiency of the turbo on the big end, because you've still got the parasitic loss of whatever supercharger is being driven by the crankshaft. So, it'll work well in a narrow band, a narrow power band. And again, that's why those what's known as a compound system, the name was escaping me. But the compound systems work really well in a very narrow band typically. And again, that's why they're used in steady state units. You'll see large generators, large water pumps, large gas moving equipment. When you see those big engines and you see or twin turbos with a supercharger, it means one of two things. Either it's a two-stroke diesel that's turbocharged, and the centrifugal is being used as an air move PM at wide open throttle indefinitely. Now he's saying, I know it may sound impossible, but my new goal is to run a 10 on the current setup. Have you ever heard of a tuned tire 392 running a 10 and then 9s? No, but you almost heard about one with my car. We were actually going to shoot for 10s with mine, and I'm not going to say it hasn't happened yet, but I don't know of anybody that's done it with the stock camshaft. So is it possible? It's absolutely possible. You just got to strip as much weight out of that thing as you possibly can and get it into the best density altitude that you can. Make sure you're not running against a headwind. Don't eat for 3 days and run it right at a quarter tank of fuel, and I think you can get it there. You might be able to cheat it there a little bit with a slightly more aggressive tune and then run a little bit of 100 octane through it. Oh, wait a minute. Go 74. Thank you very much. Saying hashtag B Mason. I love it. Thank you very much for the contribution to the cause, man. I appreciate that. Very much, man. I truly do. Thank you so much for that. It means a lot to me, man. It really does. CJ Colvin is asking, what do you think of Toby Keith and his Ford truck commercials? I don't. TUB. Crap. I keep forgetting to post your video. I did the video for your question about the 6-speeds. I think it's ready to go. I've already done it, so I need to post that. TU saying, BIC finally talked demonology into turning up, boosting the Soul Snatcher. I like it. Yeah, I mean, it was going to happen eventually. I think he's in good hands, and I'm pretty sure that, he's going to get where he wants to with that car, just in terms of his power goals, or rather I should say his ET goals. So should be interesting to watch. I'm excited to see how that project unfolds, that's for sure. Sam Grable's hard. Now, what do you do? I like it. Go 74 saying, I'm doing great, loving this summer weather. Man, I'll tell you what. Ghost 74 is asking, is Royal Purple a good oil? There are better oils out there than Royal Purple. Typically, Royal Purple does not test well. That said, I don't know of any Royal Purple lubricated car that's ever had any problems. I just know that it typically doesn't test well, and the universal oil analysis from Blackstone never really favors Royal Purple very well. The oils that do work well, Pennzoil does a good job. Mobil 1 does a very good job as well. It's tough to beat the two that you can pretty much get almost anywhere and know that you've got solid performance out of them. Obviously, Amsoil as a premium brand does really well as well. But again, any of the more modern synthetics are actually pretty good. And guys, you got to remember something. Just like with any industry, we're talking Castrol, you can be talking Valvoline, Pennzoil, Mobil 1, whatever. They all trade personnel. Somebody will get bored working for Pennzoil, Mobil 1 will pick them up. We're talking about the chemist guy or whatever. The marketing guys do the same things. Sales guys trade back and forth within that industry, and they all fall within acceptable ranges, so to speak. But since we're talking about oil, the only real difference here, look at the technical data sheet on the oils. You'll find that Pennzoil Ultra Platinum is a slightly higher viscosity than Mobil 1 at 100 degrees Celsius, which is 212 degrees Fahrenheit. That is about the only difference, and I think it's the difference between this. But and if it's 11.7 or 12.3, the Pennzoil is going to check in at like just slightly higher, by like maybe half a point or a full point. Pennzoil has better viscosity retention at higher temperatures. That's it. But it all falls within acceptable guidelines. So to say one is better because it did something better, it just exceeds the criteria a little bit better. By the way, that's important too, because your car will run oil temperature wise with a stock thermostat somewhere around 220, 230 degrees on the oil temperature. Man, I'm stretching that one out, aren't I? CJ's asking, what do you think of the Blues Brothers movie car chase? I think it's freaking epic. E.T. Racing saying, hey, Mr. Mason, what's up, E.T.? Paul's checking in. Brian, do you have a different brace? Maybe a different brace, I think is what you're asking. Autocorrect, right? Yes, I do. I've got the Performance Extreme Diff brace. I don't have the two-piece. It works okay. I guess so. Bob Fish is asking, know of any Hellcat tuners in SoCal? No, I don't. Pike's Performance He's in Europe right now teaching a group of guys how to tune using HP Tuner software. So that's who I use for my tuning. That's who taught me what I know about tuning. And, I still do, work for them and promote the business, marketing, things like that. So, obviously I'm going to recommend Pikes, but as far as in SoCal, not sure. You'll get some remote tuning from Pikes though. Let's see. Oh, Paul's asking, did you lighten your car any? I have run 1120 at 125 and 3700 DA here in Phoenix at 4850. It's actually hauling ass in that DA. So my car weighs 4240 without me in it with the drag pack. And that's with the Mopar rear seat delete. So it is a Mopar part. And it's got a set of Raystar 17-inch wheels, 17 by 9.5 inch in the rear, and the 18 by 5s up front. Aside from that, no. Now, I will run it without the speaker box and the tray in the back on occasion, and that's only if I remember to remove it. And I do have now an Archangel battery in the car, but I haven't taken it to the drag strip with that battery. And that was really done more out of a bit of necessity. The stock battery was coming up on 5 years old, and this is an early release 2015. That battery was pretty much on its way out, kind of hurting a little bit, especially running the cool down feature of the drag strip. It just was not able to keep up with that. This Archangel, completely different animal. And if you haven't seen it, I did a torture test. Basically, it's a part 1 and a part 2. Archangel just absolutely annihilated that stock battery in terms of longevity in running that cool down feature. So I say go for it. It is pricey, and yes, I paid full price for it. That stung. But that being said, I think it's money well spent. Plus, Archangel weighs you know, 27, 28 pounds lighter than the stock battery. Go74 is asking, do you have any recommendations for a supercharger for a 454 big block? Depends on what you're doing with it. I'm going to say go 6 or 871 wind and just have the thing hang out on top of the engine, hanging out above the hood, because it's a big block, man. Don't try to get sophisticated with it. Just put a big blue bow on a sledgehammer and let her eat. Oh, T.U.'s hollering out at Sam. I like it. CJ Colvin's asking, what do you push rods versus overhead cams? I think he's getting to what do I prefer, push rods or overhead cams? I'd say overhead cam every time. As far as durability goes, at least on paper, but not always. But can't, I mean, the only problem with a push rod car are push rods, honestly. But then you get into packaging concern, because anything with overhead cams is going to be significantly wider, taller, packaging becomes an issue, and then weight becomes an issue, potentially. True Day saying, ran into what I think was an 18 Camaro SS8 on the freeway, not 100% on the year, and those things can pull pretty well on the big end. I imagine the 10-speed is even better. Yeah, they do pull strong on the big end. Also saying the GM 8-speeds are not as popular with the Camaro and Corvette guys from what I hear. I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's just not as strong of a transmission or what the deal is. I think part of that problem has more to do with the rear diff gear in those cars. I want to say that they're like, somebody correct me on this, what do they come stock with, like a 256 or something like that? I don't get it. Oh, Dr. Diff saying, had mine do the first gear bump. I think it was the valve body. It didn't last long after that. Then again, I pushed it for over 2 years. Nitrous didn't boost since 4,000 miles. Wish I knew exactly why. So the thing is, it's actually in the tuning, and I've been able to tune it out of some transmissions, and it's basically, there are some parameters in the transmission tuning for the downshift, and it's under. It's for D-cell under, I think the top row is minus 75 pound-feet torque, basically under throttle off coasting conditions, D-cell downshift. And then you have 0. It's between those two. And I've been able to drop that torque value, or drop the RPM value down, on that torque value to try to get it to go ahead and go into first gear before it came into a complete stop. I did that on my car and it seemed to do just fine. I tried it on my truck and it didn't really work, and I didn't really care because it had done it since it was new. So I don't know. Let's see. Hat Reeves saying, have you seen the Trans Am Depot 455 Super Duty? T.U. saying, right on, looking forward to that 6M Trans video. Thank you very much for doing it. You're welcome, and I can't, literally sitting there ready to go. So after this goes up, be on the lookout. It'll be up there for you tonight. I don't know how long it's going to take to actually load, because my internet out here is basically, it's on freaking sundial instead of stopwatch. But that being said, be on the lookout for it. It'll come up tonight, brother. CJ saying, well, B Mason, you have a wonderful night. Thank you, CJ. Appreciate you, man. Have a good night yourself. Trudy saying, have you run into a 10-speed ZL1 on the street or the track yet? Yes, I have. I've run into several of them. It did not go well for the ZL1 at all. In fact, it went very poorly for the ZL1. And I will just leave it at that. One of them, it was a driver mod issue. The other one was on the exact same wheel and tire setup I was on. Didn't go well. Didn't go well at all. And that's not a knock on the ZL1, because guys, I love me some ZL1s. It's just, they don't make the same kind of power. They're not as aggressively geared. They just don't do as well on the drag strip as you would think that they would. In fact, funny thing you mentioned that. So it was myself, and a couple other guys at the drag strip one night, and we were actually like beside ourselves. It was a night where our Hellcats were running, you know, I was running 1070s. I think he was running 1090s with his, or I was 1060s and 1090s. The fastest ZL1s were running 1120s. Not slow, but it's just the way it was. Lone Wolf Customs checking in saying, hi, B, what up, Lone Wolf? Go 74 saying, yeah, I was just seeing what oil is good once I get done building this 454. Man, go with the good stuff, man. Always stick with the good stuff. Pennzoil, can't go wrong with that. Full synthetic. After you go through break-in. Break it in on Rotella T, then use your Pennzoil full synthetic. Or shit, just run Rotella T in it, man. That stuff's awesome too. NPR Motorsports in SoCal. Team Spanking Time is leaving SoCal for the Midwest. Nice. I like it. Jason Will saying, but NA, any thoughts? Well, they kind of, it's not really a concept. I mean, they do have the V10 Challenger drag pack. And those are actually pretty popular cars. They haul ass. But there was a concept to put the V10 in these things. It was a great idea. The problem is that I think they kind of saw the writing on the wall with Viper and weren't going to carry the Viper much farther at that point. So the V10, aside from packaging issues, which you can only imagine on that, right? You know, have you seen underneath the hood of one of these things? But aside from that, yeah, I mean, I think it would be great if you're going to do away with Viper. You know, maybe not kill the tooling for the V10 and come out with something a little bit different moving forward. The only problem really with that is that the Hellcat platform has proven to be very robust. And I'll be honest with you, the Viper engine itself, it's stout, but it's not as stout as these are. So I think it would have been awesome had they moved forward with that. I think the development with that engine in the cars would be a great evolution of that powertrain. You've already seen it in the trucks. I see no reason why they couldn't have run it in the Challenger. And, you know, it probably bumped up against a cost issue. It might have been, an issue with, just how the thing would have fell in line on an assembly plant. A bunch of V8s, and you got a V10 that's going to require something special to install. Don't know, might have added unnecessary cost, but sucks that they didn't make it, but they kind of did with the drag pack. So, checking out, saying good evening, Mr. Mopar, I like it. Steven's saying, is there a difference between stroking a 392, replacing the short block, or doing pistons and rod package for the future short block? If you've got a good running 392, just throw in better pistons and rods and you're good to go with boost. You don't necessarily have to stroke it to 426. It means that you're going to need more supercharger to feed more cubic inches. That's typically what guys will find out. Now, what are the limits? Well, the limits are whatever your fuel will manage with these Hemis. And typically with the weight of these cars, and again, you have to remember that weight equates to more, trying to get it out of the hole. But all that being said, if you've got it in the budget, get a bigger blower and stroke it, run a little bit higher compression and drop your boost down a little bit. Makes your supercharger more efficient, your downstream air tips are going to be lower, and you got the torque for the times that you're off boost. So it's a little bit different. It's got a little bit less, because we're talking money at that point. Oh, shit, hang on. Earthquake. Dr. Davis asking, on the Archangel battery, how well did it fit in the tray? It doesn't come with a bracket. The only thing you got to do custom on it is get a slightly longer bolt, because the tongue, like if this is the bottom of the battery, the tongue, that sticks up like that and goes up, that tongue is a little bit bigger on the Archangel, so you just need a little bit longer bolt. But other than that, that's all you need. Goes together. It's a lot easier than putting a stock battery in there, I'll tell you that. You can actually pick up that battery just with one hand and just boop, pop it right in there. Nothing to it. Super easy. In fact, you'll see on the, if you look at the video that I made, at one point I actually swap the batteries, and there's like a timestamp on there where I'm testing the cool down feature, and I think it took me, what, 2 minutes? Literally 2 to 3 minutes. Anyway, check it out. I did it between 7 o'clock and 7:05. I think it was 7:04 when I started refilming, and I think I got back in the car at 7:03. So 2 minutes and 30 seconds. How about that? Anyway, check it out. That's in part 1 of that video. Richard Martin's asking, when is a good time to do a tune or a cam? Well, the safe answer to that is when your warranty runs out. But really anytime you've got it in the budget, I would say if you've got a daily on top solid, used cash car, something you can just, throw down a small stack of cash for and drive off the lot, and, maintain the hell out of it. It gets you back and forth to work. Then it's a good time to do a tune and a cam also. So I would say wait till it's out of warranty, get you something economical to drive back and forth to work, and then from there, do whatever you want with your high ride. Leonard's checking in saying, good evening, Mr. Mopar. Good evening, Leonard. Good to have you, man. Jason's asking, everyone talks about tunes, but there's so many out there. What do you prefer? I hear a lot about Diablo tunes. I have a Charger RT57, slowly starting to mod it. All right, so look, man, here's the thing when it comes to tuning. Mopars are not LS. Mopars are not Coyote. Hell, Mopars are not anything that anybody that, if you haven't, put it like this, if you don't speak Mopar, you need to learn Mopar before you get into tuning on these Hemi engines. If you take your conventional wisdom from LS and apply that to a Dodge, it will blow the Dodge sky high in terms of just timing numbers to begin with. We see it all the time. So, that being said, my advice on that is, oh, there it is again. Can y'all see this thing? Motherfucker landing on me. Damn thing is big too. Freaking Rodan flying through here. Anyway, Mothra, I should say. Anyway, what the hell was I just talking about? Hold on. Oh, tuners. Get somebody that you know speaks Mopar. That's the main thing I'll say. The forums can kind of guide you into that. Let's see if I can catch this thing. Can y'all see that? Where is it? Ah. This motherfucker's going to land on me. It's going to freak me out. I'm going to be all doing karate on my face, probably knock myself out. Anyway, the main thing though is, this bastard. Main thing is find somebody that speaks Mopar. That's it. As far as Diablo, the can tunes, I'm not a big fan of those at all. You're just not going to see any real gain for the money that you're going to be spending. Now, if you get a Trinity, they're really good for data logging. So for that, they're fantastic. But again, the canned tunes, you're not really going to get too far with that. But if you don't have, let me just say this, if you don't have a somebody local, or you don't have the ability to do remote tuning, get the Diablo tune and just load the 93 octane tune, and you may have to remove a little bit of timing. Sometimes they can be a little bit overly aggressive, but you'll probably be okay. But again, you're way better off going with a remote tune from a tuner that does a lot of remote tunes on those cars. Leonard saying, good evening, Mr. Mopar. Oh, hang loose. Good evening. Dr. Diff. Saying, on my first bump would rock you out of the seat. It got much worse after mine. Oh yeah, talking about that first gear bump. Maybe it was time to go. I don't know. Like I said, I wish I knew exactly why Moltrans did it. Yep. It's like some of them are worse than others. Felix is asking, hello, have you seen the Uncle Tony's Garage channel that's centered on older Mopars? Yes, I have. He's actually got a fun channel. Dark Dragon Entertainment saying, speaking time, boy, I like it. Dr. Diff, on break-in answer, I've got 7 quarts of Amsoil SAE 30 break-in oil. What do you think on that? Use Rotella? I like Rotella because of the high detergent count. And the other thing is it's a multi-viscosity. I don't like running an SAE 30 on modern engines because it's just a little too thick at lower temperatures. It does fine once it gets hot. You'll still reach that, that 10 viscosity at 100 degrees Celsius, but it's just at lower temperatures, say room temperature, it's trying to act like a 30 weight oil as opposed to a 10 weight that you're looking for. You just want a viscosity that's significantly lower at startup for modern cars. James is asking, will changing the rear gears on an 8-speed negatively affect the transmission, i.e. swapping out 309 for 392 or 373? No, it won't. It might screw with the trans tuning a little bit, but no, it won't negatively affect the transmission in the least. Nevin is asking, how do you feel about the GT500 Shelby Mustang? Is that a good muscle car? Absolutely. GT500s are one of my all-time absolute favorite cars to drive around on the street. I don't like them for autocross, although they are a lot of fun on an autocross course. I don't like them on closed circuit tracks. They're awful for that. I don't even like them for drag racing. But if you're asking me which car would I prefer to have, aside from my Hellcat, to play around with on the street, it would be a GT500. The 6-speed manual, throw just enough power at it to say, bump it up to about 600, 650 to the rear wheels on a Mustang dyno. That car is a freaking riot to drive on the street. So yes, as a true muscle car, they are phenomenal. Trude is asking, do you think someone coming from a 392 would miss the 309 if they swapped to a Hellcat with a 262? Talking street, freeway driving on the strip seems like more of a benefit. So this goes back to my thoughts on the Hellcat from a long time ago. If you're coming from a 392 car with a 309, what you have got to remember is that you've got an 11-to-1 392 with more aggressive gearing versus a 9-to-1 6.2 liters, so a smaller engine. Basically, it's a 6.4 with a 5.7 crank. That's what makes it a 5.2. So you've got a 6.2. Sorry, that's what makes it a 6.2. Smaller engine, lower compression. When this thing is not in boost, it does not feel as snappy as a 392. Period. I've driven them all, guys. I mean, y'all know, if y'all are watching this, chances are, y'all know what I'm up to. And the Hellcat at 3/4 throttle makes the 392 seem slow, but you've got to get into the throttle on a Hellcat before it really starts to shine over a 392. 392 has a very snappy throttle response. It's very crisp. So that's going to be one of the first things you notice about the Hellcat. But again, you start cresting past that half throttle, getting closer to 3/4 throttle, there's not even a comparison really at that point. It just depends on how you're driving the car. The one thing I'll tell you about the Hellcat with the 262 gear is that it never feels like you're accelerating as hard as you are, because you're just accelerating at roughly the same G load, the force that's pushing you in the back of the seat. You're accelerating at that G load for just a longer period of time. So because of that, it's real easy if you're going from a 392 to a Hellcat to get yourself into a little bit of trouble, because the speed is, you're not there yet. And just the thrust isn't there, like the pushback really isn't there like what you'd expect under partial throttle conditions. It just so happens you're just going faster. So just one of the minor things. Now you can always put a 309 in a Hellcat. And that's a fantastic idea if you're going to be sticking around stock or a little bit higher than stock power. Say, anywhere from stock to maybe 100 to 125 more horsepower, that 309 gear is going to be perfect, especially with a transmission tune. is asking, from your perspective, which is better? What's the environment? For street cruising, and we're talking modern Fords here, and modern Dodges and modern Camaros, I prefer the size of a muscle car than a sports car. More of a, just a large, fun car with a big end. If we're talking about a closed circuit course, it would be a toss-up between a 1LE Camaro and a Mustang GT. The GT350 is fantastic, but again, we start to get into cost and things like that. And basically, I'm limiting my opinion in this case to the 392 Scat Pack cars and the SRTs with the 392, the Coyotes, and basically the regular Camaro SS or 1LE. So really, it's, for me, I like the Mustangs. I come from a Ford background as well. Love the Chevrolets. They do a fantastic job. For me, the cool thing about the Ford, though, is that it offers a completely different driving experience than the Mopar. And ideally, if money were never an object, you would want one 392 car sitting right next to one Coyote in your garage. You could literally have, they are the polar difference between driving experience, with the 392 being crazy strong down low, lots of torque, throw you in the back seat, just, put a smile on your face like the Cheshire Cat. But then you've got the Coyote, which will just keep pulling and pulling and pulling, and just offers more of a European style driving experience. So that's my opinion of the two. And the only reason why I'm not siding so heavily with Camaro is that Camaro is a compromise between the two. Camaro has always tried to be more Mustang than Mustang, and now that Mopar is here, you really get to see where that compromise lies. It's got a pushrod V8, smaller than the 392, but the Camaro is lighter, but for some reason with the 8-speed, they put a less aggressive gear in it than they did with the Mopars. What? Don't understand that. Could have made that car a little bit different. Could have given it a completely different complexion. I think there's just too many bean counters in that situation. I think they're trying to go for fuel economy or something like that, trying to eke it out for their average fuel economy, and it's just not the place you want to do that, not with that car. So at any rate, I know that doesn't really answer the question, but again, it's a very simple question, but what generates the answer is just complicated, I guess. True Day saying, man, can you imagine a Mopar supporting the aftermarket like Ford Racing? Hope it happens someday. Seen a lot of guys that love to mod get frustrated with 392s and move on to Mustangs and Camaros. Let me just say this about that. If you want to find yourself a really nice used 392 Challenger, go to any local Ford dealership and look in their used car line. That's all I have to say about that. Just inhaled a freaking lemon seed. I'm sipping on tea here. Doc Diff is asking, Rotella 520. Yep, 520 is good. Rotella 1040 is good too. Nevin saying nice. I like it. Lone Wolf Customs, 2006 Dodge Charger 5.7 Hemi with 727 and a 390 gear. How do you think that'll work? That'll work like a freaking charm, brother. I say go for it. It'll freak out the ECU. You would probably have to load try to load the operating system out of a 6-speed car to make that work. But I'd say go for it. Lone Wolf Customs, transmission died. I've got a good 727. Oh, Nevin's saying modern muscle cars. Sorry, guys, I get a little bit behind, so I get a little bit long-winded on some of these responses here. I'm liking that thumbs up to viewers ratio too, guys. Thank y'all very much. True Day saying the markup on the GT500 is going to be, talking about the new one, the markup on the GT500 is going to be insane. It was bad enough on the Hellcats. Guys, I can't imagine what the original owner paid for this car, because it's an original early release early release, 2015. And it's all mine. Yeah. Main reason why back in 2015 I went with an SRT, but there's guys out there that will pay crazy dealer markups. Hey, look at it like this. GT350 still gets an ADA tag. So go figure on that one. Sophonic saying, it pisses me off Chevy put such crap gears in the SS. No kidding, right? It will lose to any 18 plus Mustang GT in a high-speed race due to gearing alone. Yeah, tell me about that. Nevin saying, oh, okay, so basically a Dodge, mostly a true muscle car. Somebody bash on Mustangs, they're pony cars, and they have a complex suspension. Well, they have the same style suspension as our cars. Like when they pull off and they lose control and traction, that is a driver error. That is not the fault of the car, believe me. But yeah, no, there's nothing really complicated about the Mustang compared to one of these cars. In fact, they're very, very similar, both independent rear suspension cars. Yeah, but I don't know. Things happen, man. People sometimes act crazy. James saying, are 4 or 6 piston brake calipers a must for good stopping, or are vintage slotted rotors with better pads an okay upgrade? I currently have a 15 5.7 Challenger and not sure what to do for a brake upgrade. Man, I'll tell you what, if it's in the budget, yeah, you're going to want a set of the 4 piston calipers. But that said, you don't really need them. I mean, you're not running this thing on a, this chair keeps rolling that way. You're not running this thing on a closed circuit. Get you a good set of aftermarket slotted, not drilled, but slotted rotors and a good set of pads, and you are good to go for a long, long time. And keep in mind, I was out doing dumb stuff with my truck with stock brakes and stock brake pads, so you'll be good. Black on White Charlie saying, I prefer lots of power down low. Street light. That's why I love the 5.7s. No, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm kind of right there with you. I mean, I get the, yeah, you got to understand, I love the Coyote engine for what it is. And that's all fine and good because that's its own animal. But for the way I like to drive and the stuff that I like to do, can't beat the Hemis. Man, they do a fantastic job at what they do. Now, again, their blessing is somewhat their curse. I mean, the aftermarket doesn't really follow them too well. We don't have an intake manifold that actually works in terms of actually making good power at higher RPM. And the freaking cores for the camshafts are obscenely expensive. So, you know, just doing any mods to the car is just a pain in the ass. But if you do it right, you can make just as much power with a Hemi as you can with an LS, if not more. You just have to invest the money to do it. And again, that's the Mopar tax that you got to pay. Never saying, oh, the Shelby GT500, the one is the one he's talking about. Love those cars, man. Love them to death. Sam saying, twin supercharged has now piqued my interest. Man, I'll tell you what, I don't really see, you know, well, back in the day, they used to do it as a novelty. You'd have 2 Vortex, or you'd have 2 Eaton M109s or M112s that they would put on different cars. I mean, again, it's more of a novelty than anything else. But you know, when you're and a lot of that has to do just with weight and packaging and all that stuff. But realistically, a modern supercharger just single by itself has an efficiency window that is more than capable of handling whatever most blocks will handle. Nevin's saying Brembos are good brakes. Absolutely. Jane's saying, thank you, Mason. Got a thumbs up. I like it. True Day saying, never thought I would get the Hellcat itch after owning my 15 SRT. Saw a wide body in person and it really grew on me. Yeah, I know that feeling. I like the setup on the 19s with the after run chiller and line lock. Yep, I like it. Man, it's tough. You know, you drive a Hellcat and then you'll really know where your money's spent. I mean, that's part of it. And to be honest with you, yeah, there is a big difference once you really start getting into the throttle. But don't let anybody try to downplay your SRT, because I'm here to tell you, I love those cars and they are a riot to drive, especially, you know, on the, you know, as a daily back and forth to the drag strip, at the drag strip. You have a lot of fun with those cars, and they're less complex than the Hellcat. So there's that. Plus they're lighter, so they handle a little bit better. So just some things to consider. And it doesn't always have to be about that big power. And I'm saying that with this logo right over my shoulder. Sam is asking, have you ever heard of an intermittent starting issue on an off-camber incline? This issue confuses the hell out of me. Any ideas? Depends on what side it's on. These tanks, you have a helper pump that pumps fuel into the other, the side where the fuel pump actually is. It's a siphon style pump. What can happen is, depending on what side it's leaning on, I think the pump is on the passenger side. And what will happen is you may just have a fuel starvation issue if you're running it low on fuel. If it's not low on fuel, and it's only doing it on an incline, I don't know what to tell you, but the only thing I can think of, if it's on an incline and you're low on gas, that could be a reason for that. True Day saying, I have a taser, but can be annoying to use sometimes. Yes, it can be. At this point, I will wait for 2020 to see if any Chargers come. Doubt will be much. May try and snag a used 19 plus in the next few years. Probably a good idea. Oh, Sam's saying it's on his diesel truck that it's running into those problems. On an off-camber issue. Not sure about that. Don't know what to tell you. But at any rate, looks like I got everybody covered down to there. Yep, Sam's just letting me know it's on one of his diesel trucks. So, yeah, and again, you know, we've been talking about, you know, different things. You know, what are the, you know, the things that I may do to this car. A lot of it's going to have to do with weight reduction. I want to see how far I can take it on that stock tune first. Let's see, Dr. Diff is saying, any thoughts on water-to-air intercooler for his Ram? Worth it? Actually, yes and no. I'm saying, would it keep temps down on regular street driving? Been looking into a couple of them, not really ready to pull the trigger. Ice would be nice. That's one of the key things about the air-to-water intercoolers, is that you can play around with that, with adding ice to the system. What is that? Freaking bugs. The complexity and the extra weight, I don't think is going to hurt you because you got a truck. And really, because you have a truck, I would say it would be even more so worth it, because everything is working that much harder to get the truck moving. So you're going to have more heat, more time in boost to get to any certain speed that you're trying to get to. I say whatever cooling mods you can throw at it would be great. Not to mention, you can run the thing while you're in the pits in cool down and circulate the water through the system, add ice to it, and actually cool it down while you're sitting there. So another option to run that you don't have with an air-to-air, aside from, you know, hitting it with some rubbing alcohol or something like that, which can be a little bit dicey, because if it's too hot, you'll flash fire and burn the thing to the ground. So there's that to consider. But yeah, air-to-water, at least in terms of cool down, is a lot cleaner than air-to-air. And I like air-to-water anyway. Lone Wolf is asking, oh, he's in Greensville, Tennessee. Do you know of any tuners nearby, and do you do tuning? I do not do any tuning unless it is my own vehicle. I will assist others with their tunes, help them troubleshoot some issues, but I try to leave that portion of it to guys that get paid for tuning and have shops. Again, I have gotten some folks out of binds with some issues with their tunes, but You know, as far as, you know, as a company, I don't actually do any of that, again, unless it's my own car. As far as tuners in your area in Greenville, not sure. Again, I'll default to say remote tune through Pike's Performance Tunes. He does remote tuning all over the planet, so there's that to consider, but it's P-E-I-T-Z. But as far as in your neck of the woods, not sure. What you can do, though, is give HP tuners a call and just say, hey, I'm looking for a tuner. Who do you guys trust in my neck of the woods? They can look in their database and get you hooked up with somebody that they trust with their software. Chances are Alex taught them how to tune. Zephyr R&D, say what up, Professor Mason. Got his up. I like it. After some thought, I'm beginning to wish Mopar would separate SRT as its own brand with the following ethos: be the domestic AMG. It was always the domestic AMG. Yeah, I mean, I would love to see that, but you know, I doubt they're going to go that route, like SVT or you know, SVE back, you know, for you Ford guys back then. Sam Grable saying, like he says, completely got him stumped too. You're talking about off-camber starting issue, man. It sounds like it's something to do with the fuel system. Sounds a lot like a fuel pickup, but where that would be coming from, I'm not sure. Only question every question that I have would be a condition that would be not dependent on the vehicle being off camber or anything on any angle. So it just seems a little bit weird, but again, it almost seems like a fuel pump pickup or something along those lines. Trude's asking, do you think the Red Eye is worth the price difference over the Hellcat? Basically 10 grand base MSRP. I guess if you don't plan on modding it at all, it can be worth it. Could always just mod a Hellcat. Exactly. So here's the thing. Yes, the Red Eye is worth it because you get the better internals of the Red Eye. I believe still retains the better internals that the Hellcat does. That the Demon does, and if not, the freaking Hellcat short block has already been proven to manage whatever kind of horsepower you are planning on throwing at it. You don't even consider the short block as a weak point with the Hellcat. So there's that, I guess. Yeah, you can maybe make an argument that the Red Eye would be overbuilt, but I mean that's a bit of a stretch, because now we're talking about is it really overbuilt? Yeah, maybe. Only if it has the same internals as the Demon, which is basically Molnar rods and pistons. But the larger supercharger, the fact that it is a Red Eye, and all of that. Look, man, I can't tell you that it's 100% worth it. The more I think about it, I mean, it's got some gizmos and gadgets that the Hellcat might not, but look at it like this. How fast do you want to go? And, what will $10,000 buy you in terms of mods on the Hellcat to make it equally as fast? Well, it doesn't take much. And I'll tell you this, a standard body, the difference, okay? Let's look at the difference between the two. What will they run in identical DAs, right? A regular body, lightest weight version of the Red Eye is probably going to be a consistent 2.5 to 3/10 quicker than its exact twin sister in Hellcat form. It'll have about 3 to 3.5 miles an hour on it on the big end of the track, maybe 4. So you got to ask yourself, is the difference worth $10,000+ to you? It's a tough question to ask, because it's not like we're talking about a full second difference between a 392 and a Hellcat. We're talking about tenths of a second here, and really an amount of time that really doesn't equate to much more than about maybe a car length at the big end of the track. reaction time and traction and all other things being equal here. You tell me. The one cool thing about the Red Eye is that you can option it with a 309 gear. You can swap in a 309 gear on a Hellcat. Red Eye is going to make roughly 14 pounds of boost. Hellcat makes 10, 11, depends on the gauge. Mine always shows 10 pounds of boost. So the only real kicker is that the Red Eye will always be a Red Eye, and when it comes to get rid of it, it might have an advantage at resale. But I don't know what kind of hit you're going to take initially on the car. So I don't know. It's a real tough call, and the messed up thing about all of this is it almost becomes a wash. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Is it worth it? Yeah. But again, I'm not really sure when we really start getting the nut cutting, because the Red Eye that I priced out was like $79,000 and change. Shit, that's a lot, and that's for a regular body. I don't know. This thing didn't cost near that. Dr. Div is asking, any suggestion on air to water? Man, I don't know. Any of the kits are going to be good. I'll tell you that. I mean, I don't know of any of them off the top of my head. As long as it uses a Bosch pump, you'll be in good shape. And I think most of them do now. Sam Grable's asking, the only thing he can think of is maybe his filters cap is not on, but it's really, really having stumped. It might be that, man. Filter cap. Who knows, man? I mean, I would say I've ever checked. That's the only thing I can think of. Zephyr R&D saying his 6.1 SRT8 is a great GT car. As well, I've heard a few refer to the 15 Plus as a less expensive AMG. Thoughts? Well, a lot of people have said that for a while about these cars, especially when the 8-speed came out. You got to remember that these cars are built on the LX platform, which is the same as the W211 and W212 Mercedes sedans. So, yeah, they are very similar, and the driving dynamic is even very close to it. I owned an 09 E63, and I can tell you that driving a Charger with a 392 is very similar to driving my E63. Lone Wolf Custom saying, thanks, B. Good night. Thank you, Lone Wolf. Appreciate you hanging out with us. Trude saying, whoa, recently caught some metal shards in his 5 G2s and replaced them with the new Conti Extreme Contact Sports, and I'm really impressed with them for a street tire, especially if you have 305s. Contis, man, I need to check those out. James is asking, with all the colors Dodge has come out with these last few years, what's been your favorite? I love the Sublime Green Hellcat. Got the arm up. I like it. You know, I like the higher impact colors a lot. Obviously, red line red is my favorite, but yeah, Sublime Green is right up there with it. I liked the pearl white. I forget the name of it, but that was a cool looking color too. And of course, F5 green is one of my favorites as well. Dr. Div is asking, highest horsepower you've seen on a 5.7, built or not built, just needs the stock crank. Worth the K1. Well, I'll tell you this. The highest I've seen was actually in a Durango. It had a Whipple, small cam, long tubes, and I want to say it was making about 10 or 12 pounds of boost. And I think that thing, again, memory's got to be serving me correctly. That one made, I'm going to say 600 horsepower. It might have made a little bit more than that when it was all said and done on race gas. But again, that's a tune that will accommodate a Durango's weight, so you got to keep that in mind. But that engine also blew up through a rod through the side of the block, so I take that for what it's worth. Again, but we're talking about a heavy vehicle making a lot of power, so you start throwing that kind of boost at something that weighs that much, I mean, it's a matter of time, really. That was stock rod, stock pistons. Pistons held up fine. It was the rod that decided to check out. Sam is asking, I'd be interested to find out if Cam's in it, as a matter of fact. So, yeah, no, there's plenty of guys that have done the 426 strokers. LSX Jimmy in the house saying, Olaf from DFW, my man, the armpit of Texas. Dallas. Their weather's nice right now. I just got back into town from Dallas. I had a meeting up there. I had to get up there and then get down here quickly. Sam is asking, what do you think of a wide body Hellcat? I really wish that you could get a shaker and a wide body. I like them. They're good looking. Oh, James is saying, oh, he's talking to Sam. Yeah, there's 7.0 King on Instagram has a 426 stroker on his Hellcat. Yep. And you can get a 440, although I don't like the rod to stroke ratio on the 440 from Arrington, but it will make a ton of torque. Hemi Head is saying, got to hit the rack, enjoy the live chat, always fun and educational. Got the thumbs up, I like it. And then Trudy's saying, yeah, I wish the wide body option wasn't $6 grand. They must be making a big profit from that package. You know they are. 11-inch wheels are nice from the factory, though. Yep. Yeah, they are. And then he's saying, I was going to order a granite or crystal black SRT back, but a dealership had a B5 blue. God, I love B5 blue SRT and get delivered. And it literally grew on me on the spot. You have to see the high impact colors in person. Indeed. Dr. Divs checking out, say I'm out, keeping it real. Night, man. See you, brother. Have a good one. Yeah, I'm not too far behind you. So really, you know, one of the things when we're talking about modding these Mopars is, you know, I get a lot of questions about tunes, tuning related questions. Who do I recommend? What are my recommendations for tuning, and what kind of problems have I seen with tuners? Where have I seen where they have failed? You know, where can you start to look? And a lot of times that's to do with, well, the two things that matter: air fuel ratio and timing. If they got everything else right, that's where they'll be making their first mistakes. Just trying to throw way too much timing at these cars. They don't like it. They don't need it. And when you try to throw too much timing at them, just like anything else, it's quick to, you can be very quick to overtime them. James saying, great chat, got the thumbs up. Glad you can answer my questions. You have a great night. You do the same, James. Thank you very much. That's normally where I see the problem. I see issues really more in how guys will approach these engines in terms of throwing timing at them, trying to run them leaner than they should. Hemis like to run at a more rich air fuel ratio than wedge motors do. They've got 2 spark plugs, so you've got to take that into consideration on flame front when you're doing your tuning. So there's a lot that goes into these cars when it comes to setting them up for tuning that guys can get wrong. And really everything else about the tuning is pretty cut and dry. You know, getting the fuel trims right and everything else can be a little bit, but you know, if you've got solid data, it's not going to be too terribly difficult. There's ways around that. See, Sam is saying, what I meant was if anyone, bored out and put a stroker kit on a Hellcat block, now a swap. Don't know. I think I lost track of that question here. Anyone bored out and put a stroker kit on a stock Hellcat block, now a swap. I mean, bored out would just be 30 over, and they're not really going to go big. They're just going to do a cleanup. Most of the time, it's 10 over for these things. Trudy is saying, I can see GM guys trying to throw a lot of timing at a Mopar. Man, Trudy, you'd be surprised. I've seen tunes that I was shocked that the thing actually was drivable, or that didn't blow up after some of the tunes that I've seen. What folks have done with knock sensor sensitivity, just literally killing the knock sensor sensitivity. Hemis are known for being sensitive when it comes to knock, but you know, you put a real aggressive tune on these things and you're going to get some knock out of it. The whole idea is to not have knock, but you know, there is going to be a certain margin of safety. And keep in mind, these are heavy cars. Gasoline quality can be suspect anyway. You need a measure of safety there. And I get it. You know, cars have not had knock sensors since forever. Some people look at them as a crutch, but the reality is that, you know, modern vehicles are making a lot more power than older cars were back in the day, and they need the extra sensors just as a check and balance measure against poor fuel quality, really more than anything else. Dr. Div say, knock sensors, we talked about that today. Yes, we did, sir. Absolutely we did. It's a big part of Mopar tuning. Nevin's asking, is Dodge or the Mustang the more reliable muscle car? Well, depends on the type. Yeah, kind of. Up until 2018, I'd say the Ford would have been, at least by rights, more dependable. There were some issues with some lifters in the Hemis for a while, but I mean, right now, I gotta say, you know, anything, you know, coming into 2019 and 2018 and above, hell, 17 for that matter, and even 16, you might make an argument that it's actually more of a durable package, if for no other reason than that whole Hemi tick thing that they've been having with the Hemi tick, the typewriter tick with the Coyote. You know, you had the Hemi tick with the bolts for the manifold, the exhaust manifolds backing out a little bit, but man, I don't know. There's a lot of typewriter tick cars running around out there, those Mustangs, and that makes me a little bit nervous. I mean, anything ticking is not good, especially when it's an intermittent tick. I don't want that. That kind of scares me a little bit. So anyway, as far as which one is more durable, if you're talking about brand new cars today, they're both pretty darn durable. I would have said the Ford a while back, but I don't feel confident saying that anymore, especially considering that not only have people been having issues with the engine on the Mustang with that weird typewriter tick thing going on. Manual transmissions, the shift forks are made out of glass practically, and the 10-speed automatic isn't really as durable as you would have thought, considering on paper it's actually got a very high torque handling capacity, but the rear diffs have also shown to not be very durable in the Mustangs as well long term. Could be an intermittent thing there, you know, just a bad run by the manufacturer. However, still something that people are talking about, and I'm not a big where there's smoke there's fire guy. There's always going to be a vocal group of people with a small number of problems that are going to bring those to light. You know, there's a reason why news crews don't send news trucks to the house that is not on fire, right? So I get that. I understand that, but just have not been hearing about too many issues with 392 vehicles. Every once in a while you'll hear of one that has a bad lifter and that'll wipe out a camshaft, but I don't know. Again, we're talking some things are a lot more rare to happen now than what they were before. And I'll attest to the fact that Mopar, I think, had a bad run of lifters. My old truck was part of that crew, by the way. So, but again, just something to consider, and you know, something to take note of is that the Mustang just is not as durable as it once was. So Fox asking, what mods would I need to make my base C6 faster than a base C7? Simple intake, exhaust, and tune be enough? Yes, it would be. Yes, it would be. Don't need much on the LS3, my man. Love the LS3. Nevin's asking, or an old classic Dodge? Man, I mean, you really can't get wrapped up with that. You know, the older Mopars are great to look at, great styling wise, and this isn't just older Mopars, this is older cars in general. don't try to overbuild the thing. Don't try to build like a race car out of it. Just build something that's nice, and they will be very reliable. You just have to maintain them. Oh, Sam's asking, have you found your D100 or D150? No, not yet. Talking about the W100 or 150. I looking for the two-wheel drive, and no. But then again, I kind of called off the search a little bit. We got some other things we're working on right now. So yeah, I guess we're still kind of looking. If there's one out there and it pops up, then cool. But it's just going to have to pop up out of nowhere, or I'm just going to have to start the search all over again and see what I can find when I'm ready. Because so far, I've pretty much given up. I just haven't been able to find anything. James is hollering out at Symphonics. Let's see. LS3 C6. Yeah, you don't really need it, Cam. Exhaust, tune, intake, VeraRAM, you're good. Trudy's saying, I've been seeing a lot of issues from 2018 plus Mustang owners. Quite a few A10 issues. New transmission developed by Ford GM, but man, already compete with ZF transmissions. Listen, not only is it tough to compete there, but you don't see those problems with the ZL1s. You just don't. So I don't know what the deal is with the Mustang. Also, I don't know of that many problems with that transmission with the trucks. Is it that the trucks aren't spinning them high enough? Like RPM might be the problem. It can't be a torque handling related issue, or else you'd see these issues in other areas, I would think, at least. So anyway, just an observation on my part. Neva's saying, reliability, saying true. Most likely the 392 Dodge is more reliable because the Hellcat is unreliable because of the Supercharger with them blown up. Actually, that was a small number of them. And the Hellcat, in my experience, is a far more robust platform than the 392. The number of failures that I've actually witnessed have been very small with the Hellcats in terms of superchargers, and that was just the snout, the bearing snout. And they don't really blow up. The bearing just kind of fails. But in terms of other issues with other Mopars, whether it's a 5.7 or a 392, seeing plenty more of those vehicles fail than the Hellcats. I mean, we've had stock 392s blow up on the dyno. Go figure. Something's supposed to be bomb-proof, but it's a piece of machinery, and they can go bad. Dr. Diff saying, Mustangs seem to have a hard time hanging with the crew cab most of the time here, I bet. Nevin's saying, technically, the so far 392 Hemis have lasted longer. That's debatable. I mean, look, if it's maintained, yeah, especially if it's got a decent set of lifters. And we have to differentiate here. The lifter issue is the problem typically with these cars. The Hellcats have multi-displacement systems, or do not have multi-displacement or MDS lifters. That is the point for any vehicle that has a multi-displacement system. And it's not a lifter failure just on Mopars. It's on any pushrod V8 with that type of system. This could be a potential issue. Just so happens Mopars had more of these failures, at least it's been more documented. And again, recently had a 6.4 Grand Cherokee, pretty much a brand new truck, 30-odd thousand miles I think were on the clock on this thing. Lifter failed, wiped out the camshaft. That's the earliest I've ever seen one fail. Plenty of them are out there, thousands upon thousands upon thousands are getting wailed on a regular basis and have no problems whatsoever. So just something to consider. Oh, Trudy's saying one of the main things that first impressed me and still continue to impress me is the ZF 8-speed. Yeah, A lot of people say the same thing about the ZF 8-speed, not just in our cars, but in a lot of other cars that that transmission is put into. That thing just loves to shift hard and fast. Never thought an auto would be fun to drive. I'll tell you what, one of the reasons why, I've said this a long time ago, what turned me on to the Challengers was actually my truck. Weighs 1,000 pounds less than my truck, making 100 more horsepower with that transmission. How could you go wrong? And boy, was I right. That thing is a lot of fun to drive. Nevin's saying the main problem with modern cars these days is cars mostly have too many plastic parts. They sometimes have vents that still have no purpose and barely even air go through. No, that's true, man. For sure. A lot of that going on. But there's always been profiling like that, styling things that, fake hood scoops and stuff like that. It's just, the interior quality, especially with American cars, is just now getting to the level that is you would consider to be acceptable for the amount of money that you're spending on the car. Leading up to this, though, it wasn't. And plastic, you're talking about plastic now versus plastic then. Man, plastic then, it was hollow sounding. You thump it, and it sounded like it was just about to shatter. A lot of it has come a long way, but yeah, the extra vents and all that other stuff, yeah, I'm not a big fan. White Knuckle checking in saying, what up, B? Saying I'm running long tubes and a catless mid into stock active exhaust. Do you think I should go with a catback system? No. I think your existing exhaust will be just fine. If you've got the active exhaust. Then again, I don't know, man. I don't like saying no to that question, because it's such a subjective question. I love the sound of MagnaFlow with these cars. Stainless Works is another one that sounds really good. Corsa sounds really good, provided you don't go too loud with it. But if I were to be, if I had to answer what my favorite exhaust is, I'd say MagnaFlow. Nevin saying exhaust tune and the sound of muscle cars when they're loud turns me on, makes me happy. I love driving fast. I'm right there with you, man. Trudy's asking, what are your thoughts on the new Ram? Those new front ends look pretty mean now compared to previous years. Ram Rebel TRX coming with a Hellcat engine, I believe. Yes, it is coming, and can't wait to see it. I think it's going to be slightly detuned to deal with the weight. Excuse me. But, yeah, definitely looking forward to it. It looks good, man. I'm glad they gave it a good facelift. Show me Mopar. Say what's up, B. Got the arm up. Got the, 3-punch combo. I like it. Say, off the Mopar topic, but sure like that new Supra. Yeah, I do too, man. I'd love to talk about that car. Say, I dig it. Car weighs 3,000 pounds, knocking on 400 pounds of torque with a ZF warmed over with Toyota reliability. 50-50 balance. Me like me having a BMW engine. And to me, that's a weird knock to throw on the car. Now, granted, yes, the Z4 makes more power. We're talking, to the tune of like 30 more horsepower. But I don't know. I'm liking the Supra a lot. And I like it even more than it has the ZF automatic. So I don't know what ZF it's got. I don't know if it's an HP70. I don't know if it's one of the lower torque rated transmissions. But the active part of how that thing is going to shift is still going to be, it's still a ZF transmission. It's going to be badass. So some things that we know, though, is that the BMW, no matter what the numbers show on that car, it will drive and act like it makes a lot more power than it does. BMWs just do that. So know that coming into the equation. And once tuners get their hands on that thing, they've already been able to extract a lot of power out of that engine. So I don't see there being any problem with seeing, 450 horsepower to the long. And with an automatic transmission from the factory, if you put a sticky tire on it and it's that light, yeah, get ready to start seeing a lot of Supras and Z4s at drag strips soon. And I had one on, well, that might be giving something up there a little bit. At any rate, if I had one, yeah, tune, tires, 125 shot, let her eat. Symphonics asks, last car that I drove that wasn't your own that made you go, man, I really want to own one of these. 2 cars fall into that category. The first one, go to TTS's website, look up the 62 D100 that they put together. It's got a 6.1 liter with a NAG1 5-speed automatic, and it's got 390 gears. I did not want to give that truck back. Custom 4-link in the rear, Mustang 2 style front suspension, basically a stock 6.1 out of a wrecked Charger, and gas tank was relocated to the frame in the back, pulled out of the cab. I did not want to give that truck back, and it killed me when they came and picked it up. But I drove that. I did the initial data logs on that truck. I did part of the tune on that truck, and I drove that truck around every chance that I had to make sure that everything was working as it should. And I will leave it at that. I freaking loved that truck, and it wasn't even, the interior wasn't even done yet, but it was as perfect of a driving experience as I could give. The guys over at TTS blew me away with how good of a job they did on that truck. So anyway, go to TTS's website. I don't even know what the full website is. Just Google TTS 1962 Dodge D100, and it's a gorgeous silver D100. The other one was a 2013 SR8 Challenger with a 6-speed manual, and for some reason that car, everything was just right in the world with that car, and I loved driving that thing. So those would be the 2 vehicles that I've driven that I thought, man, I would really like to have one of those. Let's see, Dr. Diff is saying, I've seen the MDS fail at 22,000 miles, all the way up to 150,000. Matter of fact, just did a Ram 5.7 cam swap because his went out. He had 150,000, did one last week with 42,000. Goes when it wants. Get them gone from the start. Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's see. 2 hours, so I'm going to have to check out here pretty soon. Bear with me here. Gotta wake up early in the morning. Never saying that's the good thing about old cars. They're built very strong with heavy iron near the bumpers. But one of the reasons why cars are being more shitty plastic because they make cars more safe. Yeah, it depends. I mean, you know, they've got a lot of crumple zones, things to keep you safe on the inside of the car. Yeah, it's a shame that they just... the style, I mean, you can still style the thing out and have it look good. It can be classic and still be plastic, I guess. You really can't have it both ways. But anyway, you know what I'm trying to say. Trudy's saying, hey, Dr. Diff, what exactly happens when the MDS fails? When the MDS lifters fail, I can answer that because I lived through it. I know he has too. But basically, all kinds of bad things happen with the lifter, and it takes out the camshaft. And then Racer X, what's up, Racer X? Everybody check up with Racer X's channel, saying, what's up, buddy? This air just keeps getting worse and worse. Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. I'm supposed to go to the drag strip tomorrow, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know that I'm really all that motivated to put the drag pack on the car. I may just go and hang out and eat a burger or something. Racer X saying, I need to use your magic powers to bring January back. I'm kidding. And Dr. Dip is saying, and it makes a horrible... man, I'm having some problems here with the connectivity. It'll tick at startup. If you tip into the throttle, the ticking will go away, and then if you get out of it, the ticking will come back, and that'll happen whether the vehicle is warm or cold. One other issue is that it'll almost make a chirping sound along with the tick. It's distinctive, and when it's happening, you know what it is right off the bat. But yeah, it's almost kind of a weird, like a squeak along with a tap, or a chirp along with a tap. If it's doing that, you're wiping out your camshaft. You're listening to this thing remachine your camshaft. Slash is in saying, what up, B? I got those 9-piston Brembos on my Scatty. These pads have been squeaking for thousands of miles, and there's only 15,000 miles on the car. Any other brand that you can recommend for pads? He's saying 6-piston. I know what you mean. Yeah, as a matter of fact, that's what's going on the car next. So the power stop, so you can see that Z26s are going on Revlon. So we're going to get her up and rolling with a new set. She's doing the brake test mod. Synthetic oil, have I heard about it? Well, yeah. You can actually give a class on synthetic oil. Or motor oil in general, you would think, with as much research and all the time I've spent testing it. But, so I don't know what the question is, man. Help me out with that. But at any rate, let's see. Guys, I am coming up on 2 hours. I have got to upload TU's video, ask for a video about the differences in the TR6060s that run the gambit between the 5.7, but more to the point, the 392s and the Hellcats. So that is going to be coming up next. I don't know how long that thing's going to take to load. Probably forever. But at any rate, I want to thank everybody for hanging out with us tonight. Hope y'all had fun. I know I did. Look forward to seeing you guys on the next one. And that is a wrap on this one. Adios.